Hey guys, welcome. My name is Adam Ellis, and I'm joined with Oregon State head volleyball coach Mark Barnard. Mark, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
No, I've got plenty of that, Adam. Plenty
Yeah.
of.
Lots of time where we'd love to be in the gym, but we just can't right now. So, or on the golf course.
Well, no, I could find time for the golf course a little later, but no, the gym is definitely one of those areas that I don't think we're going to see for a while now. Certainly, a university area, probably. Well, spring's gone for sure, and then it's really a question of how much time in summer, and then even the fall. Is the fall going to be just a normal season, abbreviated, no season? It's a lot of questions.
Has there been talk about that with the Pac-12 yet?
I think, yeah, more from the perspective of football, in that, football is such a massive revenue generator, not only for the university, but TV rights, etc. So I think there's they're a little nervous from a budget standpoint because they lost so much money with with the NCAA not making the money off basketball. And, I think finances are just tight, and football I know at Oregon State generates approximately 80% of our revenue. So for an athletic department to lose football, for example, at Oregon State, that's a crushing blow.
Yeah, that's big time. What do you think of the NCAA's vote here yesterday to give seniors that participated in spring sports another year?
I think that's a fair call. It's another thing. It'll come back to budget again. How do you afford it? How do you work around? You're going to have extra scholarships now for people on the team. So you've got all these freshmen who've signed their NLIs coming in. So you have to balance that up, I think. But, holistically for their health, well, the athlete gets the right call. Then further down the road, they're going to have to work out how do they afford and how does it look?
Sure.
Your roster size, I don't know, somewhere like baseball where they've probably got, 45 or so people, and maybe you lose 4 or 5 seniors want to come back, and then you've got 4 or 5 coming in. Maybe you end up with 55 people on your roster. So,
yeah, that's a big roster.
It is, and then you've got to, obviously baseball it's not a head count, so you can break the scholarships up, but it's money. So yeah. Just another drain on the revenue.
How is this gonna, losing spring? How do you think that's going to affect your team going into the fall?
I think what it does slows down the opportunities for the freshmen that maybe didn't play a lot last season. It certainly reduces their ability to get any sort of real game time. And we were, planning on playing Oregon, kind of semi-planning on Washington State and Washington as well. So, getting good quality competition. And now we miss out on that, and it's it's unlikely that we'll get an opportunity to replace that with anything. So, it could be a slow start to the fall. That's for sure. And I feel bad, more so probably for the freshmen and some of the younger players now that these are gone. They would have got a little bit more caught by their wares. So, but you do your spring stuff in April. You don't start again until August. So how much of that do you gain and lose anyhow?
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, what with Oregon State, what do you describe as your core values with your program?
One of the things I think in regard to that, we've gone through over the years different things where, the team will come up with, the buzzwords of pride, commitment, and all of those type of things. I just really like just one, investment. For me, that's what it's about. Skill level. People will be here. Some people will be here. It'll vary. But your investment to want to be as good as you can be, that's much more of a concern for me. And your investment means you're going to place priorities in your life so that you get them done. You're going to make sure that you take care of your volleyball. You do as much as you can. You take care of your academics, and you take care of learning and developing your life so you can go out in the community. But investment is a word because for me that's what I want there. I want the people that are invested, and whether you're a great player or will be one day, having that attitude to being better is more important, I think, than anything else.
Yeah, and having people that are invested and really want to be there. I love that.
And you can do so many good things. I think we get carried away sometimes that you've got to have the best players, which of course you do. Had successful years in the past with players that were, reasonable, but they worked so hard, they were invested, they did everything they could to be. So, to me, I think just really underlies that thing of that's probably going to win out in the long term.
Kind of like your guys' Sweet 16 run. I mean, that was, just a massive run, especially with, your setter. She was, she had been around for, a long time and really developed into, such a great leader and setter that really, carried you guys into that Sweet 16.
There's no doubt. I was texting with her this morning before doing this, and she just worked incredibly hard. She was invested. When she went into the gym to do extra work, she took people with her. And I think sometimes athletes got to remember that it's great to do extra, but take someone with you. One, they can help you, but two, you're then helping them by getting them in and doing more. And she developed into being a great leader. She just worked hard at it all the time. And, I wouldn't say she was, when you look at it, the most fancy setter, but I tell you what, she delivered a ball, same location, all the time. And I think that in itself did the job for us.
Yeah, that's big time. It was sure fun watching her play and watching you guys make that run.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was too many years ago. We need to do it again.
Well, I think with the kids you guys have coming in, you've got to be pretty excited about that and what the program looks like moving forward.
Oh, for sure. I think that we've, since we lost Kylie McLaughlin a few years ago out of the setting position, for us, we fell behind the eight ball a little bit in that recruiting that position because we felt we had somebody that was a long-termer, and a lot of recruits felt like, well, I'm not going to go to Oregon State because I won't get to play. So, just adjusting from that, and I think we have got ourselves some reasonable depth in all the positions. So, injuries aside, everything else that goes on during the season, we have the players to do well.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch you guys play next year. When did you when did you really start coaching, and what really got you into coaching?
Well, I was maybe you may or may not know, I was a high school teacher once upon a time. I was a physics major at college, so not that exciting. Although I've used a little bit of physics in coaching, so there's some level of applicability. But I got into coaching when I was actually at university. In the last year of university, of just helping out the team at the time. And then I ended up teaching at a sports high school in Australia, the first sports high school they had, which is a regular high school, but they shuffled the classes around a little bit so that you could practice in the afternoons, and volleyball was big there. So I was coaching there, and from that I started coaching junior representative teams, state teams, and then I got involved with the national women's team in Australia in '97 and took that through as an assistant through Sydney Olympics, and up until 2005. And then Terry Liskevich, who was a consultant coach with us in Australia, got back into college coaching and asked me if I wanted to make a change. So 15 years ago, I decided we'll come over. My wife and I and kids would come here for 3 or 4 years just to live in the US. And 15 years later, we haven't gone home.
And you just love it, huh?
Oh, it's great. It's a great, for doing what I'm doing. I don't know that you can beat the US in a lot of respects. Volleyball's so ingrained in the sporting culture for women here, especially. For men, it's a little tougher, but for women, it's great. And, just living in the Pacific Northwest, and our kids have grown up here now, so, my son doesn't even know what cricket is anymore. So, we lost that whole Australianism, but we love living here, and it's, the perspective on the US around the world is, America, the Americans. We've had nothing but great things to say for the 15 years we've been here. It's a great community to live in, so that helps.
One of the things that I thought was really impressive, Mark, is when you took over the Australian national team, they were ranked 100th in the nation, and when you finished with them, they were ranked 46th in the entire nation. That's a huge jump. What do you think contributed to that success under your leadership?
Well, I think, part of it is it's a change of leadership. That there was that honeymoon period of a new coach, and, this new coach is great. He really respects me. He knows everything about volleyball. And then, things kind of settled out a bit. But I think, what we're able to do was re-energise the Australian program a little bit, in that it was able to play in the World Grand Prix again, which it hadn't been. Which is VNL now, they call it. But that, got players back and playing again. And Rachel Horter, who had been playing at Oregon State, who now has had an unbelievable pro career, came back to the national team. And I was lucky in that I got a good group of players back in the game, because the World Grand Prix was on offer and they were able to play against the top teams in the world. And I think that, that helped as well. So there was some lucky bounces came my way in that regard as well.
It must have been pretty special to be able to coach Rachel in both Oregon State and on the national team.
Oh yeah, no doubt, and such a big bloke. She was great at Oregon State, but she's also 18 to 21, so she's growing up and kind of discovering the life of living at college and doing that. The next time I coached her was 6 or 7 years later. She was a true professional. She was. Her nutrition was great, her rest, her recovery, her commitment to stretching, and all the things that are so important to maintain your body. Now, when she was, I guess, 26, 27 years old, she really took those to heart. With college, you go in and you roll your arm over and you're ready to go and start playing. So her development as a player in regard to looking after herself was impressive. And two, she grew up from, she was a big girl. She was 6'5". She grew up from that of someone that had this potential to actually fully realising it, maybe even going beyond what people thought she would be like. Because she was certainly a tier one opposite in the international women's game. She played in Poland, Azerbaijan, Korea, China, all over the place. So all in top leagues. So I think that says a lot about her as a player.
Do you have a favorite memory that you can think of from coaching that team?
The Australian team?
Yeah, the Australian national team.
Well, actually, the favourite memory actually was way before that. It was when I coached them the first time back in 2001, and we qualified for the World Championships for the first time ever, beating Kazakhstan in Macau, China, the fifth set, 18-16. After we held 2-1 and 23-19 in the fourth, we came back and won the fourth 26-24, and then we won the fifth 18-16 on a solo one-on-one block against their best outside hitter, Irina Pavlova.
Just clamped her, huh?
And our opposite jumped way in and just got a one-on-one 18-16 off to the World Championships for the first time.
Oh man, that's fun.
So that was, things like that they keep you going because there's a lot of moments in between that aren't that much fun.
What do you think your favorite match that you've ever coached is?
Ever? That would be one of them for sure.
Okay.
I talked about against Kazakhstan. I'm trying to think. We had a pretty epic game against Oregon many years ago. But when that was a Sweet 16 year where I think we led them in the fourth set 21-4, which is unheard of at that time. Just that we'd lost in weeks leading up to that last match of the year, and we were struggling there. We're close to being in that kind of 56-4 range of teams being chosen, and the win for us was vital important. And we went on a bit of a streak a couple of ago, 2017, where we won 2 sets of 5 in a row matches. And, wins against Washington there, which we hadn't done in all the time I'd been here, twice that year. They're memorable in that, we proved that we could play with the big kids. I think we were a little, we doubted ourselves a little bit prior to that. So
sure,
they're the ones that stick out for sure.
Other than Gil, what do you think your favorite place to play in the Pac-12 would be?
I kind of like the Washington schools for a couple of reasons. Heck, Ed at the University of Washington is just a great venue to play in. I've never drawn. We as Big State have never drawn a big enough crowd, but having seen it full there before is pretty amazing. And then Washington State, it's not a big venue. But I tell you, when they fill it and it's noisy, it's a lot of fun to play in that venue for sure. So, I kind of like those, and they're both quite different. One being a big, I guess stadium-like, and the other one being a smaller, much more intimate gym. But they're both fun to play in. And there's a lot of very nice gyms in the Pac-12. Oregon's got a gym, of course. Those trees are a little different, but it's a great structure. USC has great facilities, but in terms of just a gym to play in, like I said, I think University of Washington, Washington State, just a quite unique experiences.
Just the atmospheres that they create.
For sure. A lot of the gyms in Pac-12 are big, like Gill, they're big open gyms. And so if you're filling them with 2,000 or 3,000 people, it's okay, but you're still a lot of space there. I think Arizona's done a pretty good job of these shoe buttons down to make it a bit more of an intimate place to play. But no, those other ones, and plus with Heck Ed, you've got this kind of history. It's Gill-like in that, there's some history of huge square, multi-million-dollar, everything in shiny facility. I like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I've never been to a game at Washington, but I'm looking forward to going up in the next couple of years and watching a match there.
It's a nice facility. They've got a Teraflex floor. Yeah, it's a nice setup. So
yeah, that Teraflex is nice, isn't it?
It's nearly. And I think you're interviewing Keegan later this week.
Yeah, sure am.
Their Teraflex floor is nearly as nice as ours.
Okay.
So,
I like it. I like it.
A bit here after the lights come out.
Hey, talk to me about what like a day in the life, of your student athletes look like, both in season and out of season.
Well, during season, I wouldn't say it's 7 days a week, but it's definitely 6 days a week. But the seventh day is taken up with, tab and whatnot. But we're a morning practicing team, so most of our practice goes between 8 and 10:30 each day. We find that's probably best in terms of scheduling classes. It enables the least amount of missed class. We've practiced in the afternoon, we've practiced around time, but that morning period, one, they're a little fresher. Two, we have the least class interruption. So, and in that time between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock, they'll also do their lifting as well there. So we kind of put that in the morning. Practice during the week, we'll meet 4 times during the week in season on video of the other team. And sometimes we'll do a 5th session in regard to looking at ourselves from the previous weekend. So often we'll do that as a homework exercise for the players. They'll come in, then we'll go through the video and they'll talk about certain things that we've highlighted or whatnot. Then later in the week, we'll do our sessions on the teams that we're playing. And then, depending on whether we're home and away, how the rest of the week goes. If we play Friday, Sunday, which is pretty common in the Pac-12, then we'll leave Thursday and we get back Sunday night. If we're at home, Friday, Sunday, that makes a lot of difference being in your own bed.
Sure.
Generally speaking, you have Mondays off. That would be the most common day. You need to give them one day off during the season, so it's generally Mondays. The other off day is the Saturday between Friday and Sunday. Generally, that's more of a practice day, so we tend not to give them that as the off day. When you travel, you can't give them that as the off day. It has to be the Monday. It's just one of the rules. So, and so through the week, we're allowed the 20 hours then during the week. Very rarely do we use the 20 hours because, one, they've got to continue with their schoolwork. That's one thing. And two, during the season, you can't go 5 or 6 2.5-hour training sessions per week. They're just, you're going to wear them out pretty quickly. So
yeah, they're going to get burnt out pretty quick that way.
Yeah. And off season, being that we're a quarter school, we have a winter term. That winter term, we're allowed to do 4 hours a week with the athletes in volleyball and 4 hours of strength and conditioning / meetings, other stuff. So that's a lot lighter load in the winter term after the fall season's over. And then in spring, we get about 6 weeks again of 20 hours per week where we can, have our 5 days a week of 2.5 hours of practice. We get to play on 4 of those Saturdays as well. So like an abbreviated season without the pressure of playing 2 matches on the weekend, but still getting some high quality games. So, however, that's not to be the case this year. And then summer, like everywhere with summer, I know there's talk with the NCAA about adjusting the hours that you can do in the summer and whether you can have some practice time. But generally speaking, then they're doing summer school, they're doing open gyms, they work camp. So it's really a hands-off time for us. And then bang, 8th of August, 9th of August, it all explodes again, starts for the beginning of the season. So,
and then it's go time, huh?
Yeah, it's very much go time. It's, for the most part, from about August 8 to December, whenever you finish, end of November, early December, it's pretty much every single weekend from then to then. So it's a commitment, you know. A lot of people go, well, I'd love to play Division I volleyball, which is great, but you got to understand that, you know, the time commitment required is like having you're studying plus having almost a full-time job. So, you know, it's that, but that's the nature. But there's also, you know, you speak to so many players that at the end of their 4 years will go, man, that was hard, but I would have absolutely not traded it for anything in the world. So the experience is, you know, hard to beat, but it's, you know, it's not all rainbows and ponies.
No, hard work usually takes up some time, and at the end of it, it's hopefully worth it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what gets back to my thing about investment. You know, how good do you want to be as opposed to how good are you now? I think that's a key question you need to be able to ask yourself. And plus, you know, I think sometimes with athletics, especially, not so much volleyball, but, you know, it's becoming more that way. We forget sometimes that we're playing a game.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great game. You got to work hard, but hey, you got to enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that word investment. That's something that hopefully you're okay with us using.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've saw it linked to about 100 other things, so I'm pretty sure I can use that one.
Perfect.
Like a lot of things, someone else has come up with the idea somewhere, I'm sure.
I know you got to run here, but just want to ask you one more question. What do you think for you are the top 3 things that you look for in an athlete when you're recruiting them?
Well, if we put playing ability aside, because you're going to look for the best player you can get, it's the character of the athlete. So just what are they like as somebody to be coached? What are they like as a teammate to someone else on that team? And also, what are they like as a daughter? You know, you look at them sometimes, and you would have seen this yourself. Obviously, you've coached many athletes that'll throw their water bottle to their parents and, you know, stuff like that. And you think to yourself, you know, is that something? Does that say something about her character or not? And I think, you know, that's a key one. You know, so if I was to put playing ability as 1, then I would have their character as 2, and then 3, getting back to investment is, hey, what do they want out of all of this? What's your desire to play at this Division I level? Is it to be the best player you can be? Is it just to get a degree and get out of there? Is it to go and be a pro player after you finish there? You know, what's your kind of why to do what you do? Because it's going to be hard. And I think, you know, sometimes you'll see players when they get towards the end of their career, junior, you know, halfway through junior year, senior year, and they're not going on to play anywhere else, and maybe they're not starting, that interest kind of wanes. And so I think you need to have more than, you know, just your happiness about whether you start or don't start as to, you know, how you're going to be day to day to deal with.
It's kind of like that level of investment that you've been talking about.
Yeah, and, you know, Ron, who was the assistant coach here, the Dutch coach that I had, the former great Dutch player, he loved players that wanted to play pro, because he said this was a stepping stone to them improving their career, whereas players that want to do the 4 years and just get out and work, he said sometimes, you know, you don't get that same level of investment. So, you know, you look for ones that you're going to get a full 4 years out of, or 5 years if they redshirt. You know, that's, and you never know, because, you know, you can be great as a 14 and 15-year-old, and then the other players start to catch you up. They get to be taller and stronger, and, you know, then what do you like when you're not the biggest kid on the block and now you can get blocked, or they can dig you a lot easier than they used to? What kind of resilience do you have then to taking up another level? So, and it's hard with the shortened recruiting period now. You watch them for a while, but then, you know, June 15 at the end of their sophomore year, it's a frenzy to get everyone signed by, or not get them signed. They can't really sign, I guess, until the beginning of August. But I mean, that month and a half period to kind of recruits. So
sure.
It'll be interesting to see whether that has an impact on transfers down the line.
Yeah, the new transfer rule is, do you feel like that's helping you guys?
I don't know. It's hard. The difficulty about it is just the suddenness that you can be unaware of. Sorry, hey, it's just not working for me here. I'm out. And then you go, well, and, you know, the ability to then replace that person is difficult. And, you know, I can see the point of view of the transfer. Coaches can transfer, so to speak, whenever they want. But I think at the moment, you know, that pendulum of everything being in favour of the student athlete, we need to find this middle ground where we can manage it a little bit better.
Definitely.
and I think in some major sports, football and basketball, that transfer world can be a seedy business. Volleyball, I think, for the most part, still is, seems to be pretty clean. If they want to leave, they leave. There doesn't seem to be a lot of interfering and whatnot going on behind the scenes. I think basketball and football is a completely different animal.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that that you don't have to deal with basketball and football, and that it's just volleyball. That makes it nice for you.
Well, it's a lot easier. And like I said, I think volleyball has a certain level of decorum for the most part that I think is a nice thing in our sport. And it could be the same in a lot of other sports as well, but I notice in volleyball that for the most part, you've got, I don't know, over 1,000 colleges in total, so I can't say that everyone's behaves fantastically, but for the most part, I think it's a pretty good environment.
Sure, definitely. Well, Mark, I just wanted to, thank you for your time and appreciate all your knowledge, and looking forward to seeing you in the gym or maybe on the golf course, hopefully sooner rather than later here.
Probably the golf course before the gym, actually. It's just, it'll be a very interesting time to see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. Well, hopefully we can get back out on the golf course sooner here rather than later.
Yep, for sure. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.